You still there?
Yep.
Cool, man. All right, we're live. Welcome back to another episode of the Food Finders here on LinkedIn. I am Matt Adelman, and we're doing a little different today because Corey, my partner in crime, is not feeling great today. So we gave her the day off, and instead you get me and Mark right away from the start. So, Mark, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Appreciate having me on.
So, usually when we kick these off, we let our guests go into their background. So let's just start there. How did you get into what you're doing now, and just give us your brief history.
Cool. Yeah. I founded IWON Organics about 7 years ago. Prior to that, I had a sport bag company, a travel bag company, mainly focused on what we consider meal management bags. So bags that had meal component accessories to them so you could carry your food around.
Okay.
Again, I focused on health and fitness and fitness enthusiasts were the main customer. And so it was something that I wanted to get into for quite some time. The bag business was flatlining at that time, so I knew it was time for us to make a move. And so we focused on food, and I chose to go this route, which is a legume-based snack company. So our snacks are made with peas and or beans, a little bit higher in protein than those in our set, and so that's how I found myself here.
Dude, how many people did you talk to when you said I'm going to get out of bags and I'm going to go into food? They're like, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea."
Not very many. And if you were to do that today versus 7 years ago, there would be not very many times two. Yeah, it was different times. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, as with any business that I had started previous, which I'm fine with. But it's definitely a different business than it was when I had started.
How did you get started?
I just made phone calls. I mean, it's what I've done before. So I don't necessarily need experience in the business. I have a pretty good understanding of every business. As I'd say, I have kind of a common sense user, as far as starting something and getting an idea where to go and how to get there.
Yeah.
So I knew that a product had to be manufactured. So of course you're going to call manufacturers. You're going to start asking some questions. You're going to be convincing them that you're the next big thing, which is something I'm pretty good at. And from there, it's starting to learn the process of how to get a product like this off the ground.
Did you have a recipe like right from the get-go, or did you say I want to start this business and then figure out like what do I make and who's going to make it
Yeah.
and
Yeah. I
crazy?
had an understanding of nutrition, so that was a key piece. I live a health and wellness lifestyle and have for 20 plus years. So I know what foods look like. I know what foods that are processed look like, as far as a product that is in a snack bag and turning it around and looking at an ingredient label and trying to understand, okay, well, how is this not only put together as far as formulation, but how is it produced?
Okay.
So those are helpful in a process like this. So when I'm talking to a manufacturer, we're starting to talk about ingredients. Really, the key things for me was to learn about what would work and what doesn't, whether or not it's a fryer or whether or not it's a baked product like ours as an extruder. You're just asking a lot of questions and you're listening. You're really honed in on the educational piece out the gate.
Okay, cool. Are you so give us an overview of the company. Like what do you guys make? How big are you? Where can you be found?
Yeah, we're a national company now. We're in Whole Foods and Sprouts and Vitamin Shop and Wegmans and the like. So we're national is what I can be considered, but we're still extremely small. A lot of people don't understand that even if you are in stores like that, oh wow, you must be on the what we call the ACV as far as like household penetration. We're small. Like nobody would know who we are. Only at my kids' local soccer games, the parents might know we are because they buy our snacks and
Yeah.
because we give them out after the games. They're like, but a lot of people don't know that in our business, you could be doing $50 million a year, and many folks or families have no clue who you are, who your brand is. So that's where we are. As far as core products, we have an extruded line, which is a baked line as far as puffs and sticks. Those are our core movers as far as the majority of our business. We do have a newly launched popcorn line, and then we have a new product that's coming out, which is a popped chip, which is basically a crisp that's launching next month.
And all of your products, they're better for you, right? Is it protein? Is that the main differentiator?
They're all better for you, and better for you is an ambiguous term that's used loosely in our industry. They're better for you. They're baked and or again popped products, so they're not fried. Number one. Number two is we are a legume based as far as our extruded products. You're talking about peas and brown rice as far as the core ingredients. And we do add a protein, what we'd consider an isolate, to boost the protein just a little bit. So our protein levels are a little bit higher than anything else in our category. And so, yes, as far as better for you, we would deem them as better for you within the better for you category.
Cool. I saw your stuff here in Minneapolis. I went to a vitamin shop and I got all the products and tried them. And I get where they're positioned in vitamin shop, but in like a traditional retailer, where do you guys try to position your products?
They're in salty snack, so it would be next to other chips and or kettle chips and the like. So
Okay.
we really differentiate only because of that protein call out, and of course being organic and the like. So we still have to play within the big players there, and that's okay for us. In distribution such as nutrition supplement, like a vitamin shop, it's easier for the consumer who understands the product because everything else in there has protein probably touted to it. The difference there is we are a lower protein than what would be considered a high protein, totally focused snack item,
Okay.
like a Quest protein chip. Higher in protein, theirs is often dairy, right? Dairy focused. A component to them as in whey and the like. Ours is plant based, so they are a little bit of a different makeup. Ours wouldn't hurt your stomach the same way that others may be that are in that sort of arena.
It's interesting. I'm a Target guy. My background is I'm in Minneapolis, so we're all connected to Target somehow. But Quest, Target carries a lot of them, but they have them in the health and wellness section. They don't put any of that in line. And you guys, so you would, like, if you were to go to Target, you would just get into salty snacks and be positioned next to chips there?
It's a good question. We've never been in Target. We've never really focused on Target, although it'd be a great opportunity, and it's not to say it never will come. I believe it would make sense for us if we could be positioned next to Quest in that better for. So my daughter,
It's all
my daughter's school today. In that better for you set, because I do know that set, and they own the set. Which I always walk by and I'm like, oh my goodness, what an opportunity they have. They own, all 5 shelves, and it's about, 4 feet wide. Everything from bars to, and again, I'm a fan of the brand. I've known them since day one. But we are a different product for sure. The consumer definitely, is different, our core consumer, than ones that may choose Quest as an option.
Gotcha. So you're 7 years into this thing. What is your primary focus now? Is it e-com? Is it expanding in retail? Where are you guys headed as a company?
Yeah, we really like our Amazon business. We've always had some inventory constraints as we've had cash constraints the last 12 to 18 months. So we're really going to try to be wherever we can and divvy up our inventory where we can. We have a nice business on Amazon, which we consider direct, and online arenas like Thrive Market, which we do well. But wholesale, as far as distribution, is still a really key model for many brands. And so you just have to pick and choose on where and what's working, and making sure that you can survive on those shelves as far as long term. So you want to pick up that distribution and pick up more retail partners that are going to make sense for you.
When did you, like, what was the first couple of years like for you guys? Was it pretty easy to get a brand like this off the ground 7 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to get a brand like this off the ground today.
Is it?
The barrier, a lot of people don't realize, the barrier of entry to this arena is really low. There's a few other arenas that I know that are similar to that, but it's why you can walk into an Expo West, if you've ever heard of it. It's like the Super Bowl of food, and see so many brands that you've never seen. I mean, out of the 2,000 brands that are that are displaying, you don't know 90% of them. It's because, again, the barrier of entry. So it'll be, oh, well, what do you mean? It doesn't the FDA have to? No, doesn't work. You could be baking a cookie in your mommy's garage and have it be sold the next week once you put cellophane on it and a sticker on it, right?
Yeah.
That's good and bad. I don't really have a position on it. I'm just saying. No, it is what it is.
I had a guy, this was many years ago. I used to be the category buyer for Albertsons Super Value, 1,900 grocery stores, managed the deli for them. And I had a guy come in from Chicago one day to show me a line of salads, like deli salads. And I'm trying them and eating them. And I was like, oh, this is really good. Where did you make this? Oh, that one, I actually made it in my bathtub at home. And I was like, what? This is bathtub salad. I mean, the dude was starting out. I should have asked that question. So now it's one of the first questions. Where'd you actually make this stuff? But you're right. Anybody can get into it. But how do you actually, like, I can get in. I can go talk to retailers. But is it super easy in your mind to get distribution right away, or is e-com?
I think so. I think so. It's a misnomer. I mean, the fact is, retail is one thing as far as getting your product on shelf. It's whether or not you can get your product off the shelf that matters.
All right.
It is. It's the only thing that matters. And so I'm not saying it's the easiest. I mean, we just talked about Target. I've never had the opportunity to get into Target. I'm sure if I called them, our review is this date, and which is like a year out and all that stuff. There's only a few players, and it's just the lay of the land. It's just how business works that could circumvent everything and get themselves on shelf, right? Like past the reviews and everything else. They have a lot of money or they're well connected, right? There's been a couple new big brands that are backed by big, founders, and they just somehow get a national launch at Whole Foods. Well, like 99% of us can't get that, but that's just how the world works, right? It's who you know, and it is what it is. So as far as everything else, if you stay the course and you have a good product, because I always say that that's important, meaning taste, textures there, maybe there's a nutritional component to it and the like, and you have a decent story and you can articulate that story, I'd say you can always get into those meetings for sure. And you always have a shot if you just get a really good buyer who likes what you're doing and what you're selling and why you're selling it, to get into that store and or regional chain. So again, that to me is with just time and consistency and follow up and the like, you'll nail it. But at the end of the day, 6 months later, you got to be turning the product.
Yeah. Velocity always trumps everything.
It's the only part of the business that matters.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I used to tell people I'll bring you on the shelves, but if it's not moving, you got basically 6 months to prove that your product's going to work or not. And it's really tough to come back after that.
Yeah. For us, I always say we just want to be in the middle. I'm always fair with that. People are like, wow, well, don't you want to be the number one? Yeah, it would be nice, but we're not. We'll never be Frito-Lay's. It just is what it is. We don't have a product like that, and we don't have the cash to support a push like that. So, it's okay to be in the middle because you are defending yourself, right? It's just, you're just throwing jabs for, 12 rounds, and I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that because, again, I use that as an analogy, but so anyway, that's just a boxing analogy. You're just staying in the game, right?
Right.
And so it's only when you get dropped to the bottom third, that you are at risk, and rightfully so you should be, and you would get removed and the like. So unless you're flush with cash, which means you spend to grow your sales, you got to just have a really good product that customers have tried somehow. Usually it's from some sort of trade spend that a promotion that you've done, which is to get trial going. And then they come back, and in our case, maybe it's a buck more than a competitor product, but they really like the product. they like the taste, they like the nutritional value, they like maybe the story on the back. It says, hey, I'm Mark, I'm the founder, I got kids and I'm trying to get, there's those 4 or 5 pieces that need to come together for you to safeguard yourself. And for us, it's really to stay in the middle.
What are you seeing as the best way right now to get your story out there and to get attention on your product?
Again, it's all dependent on cash. Everything is because so if you don't have any cash, you just again going back to it, you just keep jabbing as much as heavy and as frequent as possible in ways that are not cash dependent. So for us, it's just making sure that you have product, so you have inventory. Again, this sounds so low level, as in like, of course, it makes sense. Well, these are key pieces. It's what puts businesses out, and a lot of people don't realize that. It's always cash dependent. Like, oh, they went out of business. Well, yeah, because they ran out of cash. They couldn't raise anymore, and they ran. But there's all these trickle down effects that occur in bad times like that, and one of them is inventory. You can't run any more inventory, right? And so all of a sudden you're not just out of stock. You're starting to be like poked at it. Hey, you're out of stock. You've been out of stock. Next thing you know, you're removed, and it just goes downhill from there. So that for us, when you have little catch, is just making sure you have some inventory. A step up from that is just you got to keep touching them on social. So staying live on social doesn't mean you're spending tons, but just staying live, making sure your website's still up, making sure your Instagram page is still active. You're posting every so often. So when people find you, which they do searches, that you're not dormant. And that's the sort of the next level. If you go above that, you're spending. And so I got 25 different ways to get nasty out here. But what's the point of talking about it right now? We'd be talking about it all day long. It's a whole scenario of different ways that you can touch customers.
I've never interviewed anyone who does a lot on Amazon. Does all the surround the social media, the website, all the stuff you're doing just normally to drive marketing, does that all translate to Amazon, or is Amazon its own thing altogether?
I think I think there's a piece to each to everything, right? You're getting touched somehow, so long you're staying active. The Amazon piece to me, or at least for us, has always been sort of organic. Again, especially because we've never been cash heavy, so we can only attest that the growth from Amazon was that of being organic, because we also don't spend on there like others do. So there are ways to just be on the platform and just spend a ton as far as ads and you procuring customers that way. And it works really well for a lot of people. But for us, we always had organic growth. We've had a dip, of course, in revenue, unfortunately, because of inventory. It goes back to that. We have to divvy up where the inventory is going. So we have lack of inventory in that distribution channel. And unfortunately, the result is that we get, a sort of a drop in overall revenue. But at one time when we were flush in inventory, we were organically growing. And I'm really bullish on that platform. I'm bullish on that platform. Again, it goes back to, you have to have a really great product. It all relates to what your reviews are. It's just how that works. So for us, we've got couple products on there with more than 1,000 reviews and above 4.5 stars. Like, if you're living there, you're going to be able to push new customers to not only buy, but newer customers to trial you. And that's the important piece.
Okay. Very cool. Where is the next 10 years for you guys? What is your vision for where you want to take this thing?
Well, if we can survive, that's the only thing I'm focused on now, is just survival. And so if we can survive, and we're working on that now, as far as putting ourselves into a good situation, or one that's better than the one we're in now, I'm a believer that there's platforms that need to be built, and that's what we're trying to work on. So what I mean by that is, I believe a few brands need to come together and roll themselves, we call them roll-ups, and roll themselves up into an entity where we are building together. So it would be a few better, again, going back to sort of that ambiguous, term, a few better for you snack brands that may or may not have some likeness as far as the relation into the sets and the like, but have a couple strong founders as far as putting some smart people into a room and being able to build together. So what you do is you have capital resources that may come in because they like that idea better, but more importantly, it's because then you can combine what I call your G&A. So you cross over your operations, your finance, your sales and marketing, and you have basically, one team that's working on the few brands, which creates a lot of cost savings and efficiencies if you are able to operate it well. And that's the latter is really a tough scenario, especially again, when you're putting a few different founders together who, all of a sudden are out of what the norm was for them, where they're calling shots and they don't have other folks to be working with and putting ideas and move forward strategies together.
I like that idea. Is that you guys are actively working on trying to build something like that?
We're doing something. We're in the middle of something right now, and
Cool.
I hope it comes together because again, the key piece is survival, and I talk openly about it. There a lot of folks in our space have gone out of business, and a lot more will. And so if you do want to look for an out as far as not writing your investors and or your customers to say, hey, we've closed doors, there are solutions. There are sometimes solutions if you can look for them and are willing to look for them, and you have something, an asset that to others is valuable. And that's, of course, a key piece to all of it.
Sure. Yeah, I was talking to a friend last week that, to me, I started in the industry in 2007, and that was right before the recession. And I saw lots of brands come and go in that time, but the ones that made it through, that could sustain, that had a good product, that were priced right, that could still survive and get their product to the masses, like, they really made it big after that, right? Like, these downturns, it feels like we're kind of in that world again. Not kind of, I think we are. That the good companies are still going to find a way to get through, I think.
Yeah, as what a lot of people talk about, of course, is that the money's been turned off, right? The spigot's off, but the reality is it's not really that true. Like there's still money out there. There's new write-ups now. There's new funds, 2 new funds by ex founders. These are wealthy individuals. They're putting raising capital for new funds, but so it's like with anything. If you have a great idea, and there are folks that believe not just in the idea, but those that are willing to execute it, you oftentimes can find the money. In this situation, in today's landscape, what a lot of people need to understand is that founders are burned out. And so, you'll see a lot just go out because it's not like they didn't even want to lift up another rock, and it's totally understandable. They're just burned out and they don't want to give it another go, which is totally understandable. The risk reward in our industry is so off. It's so lopsided. I don't really, and I've done other things. I've been in service-related businesses, which I've done okay with. I've gone into consumer goods, which was like, and then, this space, food and beverage and consumer goods, it's extremely difficult. And I've great friends in this business, and I've built a great network in this business. And offline, the theme is always the same for those that are really objective. And I've got some really, again, smart folks that I'm, luckily, in the circle with. And it's really difficult to create any success and what most would think is success, or most deem success, which would be, could I really exit this company? As in, is somebody going to write a check where my investors were taken care of, the founder and the team was taken care of? It's very difficult. I want to plug this in, by the way, so this doesn't go off. So just I'm gonna move. Just keep chatting. I'm just
All
gonna
right.
plug it in. Go ahead.
Dude, it's I sometimes I love doing the lives because I don't have to edit or do anything after the fact, but I every single live I've ever done, I always mess up myself. Something always there's
Oh,
always a curveball here.
yes, yeah. Sorry, dude. Let me
It's all
just.
good.
We're in. Yeah, and this computer is so weird, dude. It's like it'll just go out. Like no, no. All right, so hold on.
Well, I know we had a half hour for this interview, so I don't want to steal too much of your time. I was wondering if we could shift gears a little bit and talk about Mark outside of just the food business.
Go for it.
So I know you recently started a Dads and CPG group at LinkedIn. I know that
Yeah,
I stalk you a little bit on LinkedIn. I know that you are about to compete in a bodybuilding cha-
no, it's
uh,
fine.
event, or you're training for
Yeah,
one.
not bad. I'm gonna do one of these like men's physique. Is this thing good? Are we good, right?
Yeah, we're good.
Um, yeah, I wanted. It's a bucket list item. So I'll start with the latter. It's a bucket list item. I'm like on this whole new just running to the light situation, which I really love, and that is I'm really focused on finding the things that I love, right, and do more of those, right,
Yeah,
um, and and health and wellness has always been my thing. So I just I've always had some bucket list things, and one of them was I want to do a show, one of those men's physiques, natural, natural. I've never taken anything. I've never, never none of this other stuff that men my age, I'm 44, start doing, right? Which I don't do whatever I don't really care. You do it your thing. But I've always been natural. I'm like, you know what? So for all this time, towards this age, I want to get into one now. I want to see what happens. So that's what I did. So I hired a coach. I'm on day 7 of like volume training that he gave me, which I have not done in a long time. Like this morning, dude, was ridiculous. It was back, and I've never. Even before in my 20s, I've never done this much volume. Tons of volume, and my eating. So I've never meal prepped before. I know macros, and I've always had understand what I eat in the day, but I've never meal prepped. So that's what I've been doing, and we'll see what happens. I'm thinking maybe I'll do a show in February if we can hit that target.
that seems pretty quick.
I know we're going to see how quick I can shed off the few of these LBs here. We'll see, and if not, there's a show in April that he was talking about. So we'll see what happens.
How do you think, being 44, are you up against other older people too, or is this all age
Oh,
groups?
dude, I hope so. I hope so. I think there's what they call masters, and then of course it goes by weight. And I believe even height's thrown in there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. My main theme is I'm game. I don't really care. Just I want to see what happens if I focus and take my game up another notch or two. And it's been kind of cool, man. Like I feel great. My energy, my clarity, and everything has always been fairly on, but like my mental health has been like on another level, which is really important. And I'm like I really like that. So
What do you think is going to be the key to your recovery and just having your body being able to do the volume?
I don't know because I don't feel different. I've been doing this. So as long as, if anything, the first week, the food that he was giving me, like I was full. I didn't want to eat that much. And he loved hearing that. He's like, oh, that's going to be great when we kill off these calories. Right. Because I'm like, yeah, I could probably do away with like a whole meal. You're like stuffing me, dude. And so I think it's more about that stuff, which is like there's another level of discipline that comes into this, and that's why I was saying it's just a bucket list. My kids see me doing this; they a lot of it's that too. I like them seeing that, hey, I'm doing stuff, you can do stuff. And, it's one of those things.
So are you there still? I lost you for a sec.
You kind of froze.
You
Let's
back?
see.
Is it working?
Yeah, I'm on.
There we go. Well, cool, man. Are you documenting the whole journey? You got someone filming it for you, or are you just taking pictures, or?
Did you freeze?
Uh-oh, I'm here. Can you hear me? Hello? Are you still there, Mark? Uh-oh. Corey, you're probably laughing if you are watching this, aren't you? I think we might have lost Mark. All right, we lost Mark. That's all right. I'll give him a minute, see if he comes back. I think it's interesting to me what. Oh, he's back.
Oh, that was me. I'm glad I hit reconnect. Did it work? Are we still
Yeah.
going?
Yeah, we're still here.
Oh, cool.
I started
So
telling jokes.
where did it cut off?
You were just talking about the recovery and how your body's going to react and eating so
Yeah.
much that you're full all the time.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
I was curious, one of the questions, I don't know if it came through, but are you going to document this whole journey, or do you have anyone filming it for you or taking pictures, or?
Yeah, I take my weekly photo stuff. That's basically it. It would be fun to do a little bit more than that. And I journal at night anyway, just quick sort of, few sentences to myself. I've done that for many years. So maybe I'll piece it all together later, but I kind of take it on onto LinkedIn anyway, as far as the progress. And so I think that'll probably be part of the journey too. Every couple of weeks, I'll just check in with the community, like, hey, this is what's been going on. Cause I also like to just share those updates as far as like how I'm feeling to motivate others. I get that's part of the piece on there anyway.
Sure. Do you follow Nick Bear at all? Do you know his company, Bear Performance Nutrition?
No.
It's amazing. You can look at it afterwards. The guy, it's a protein company, supplements, that sort of stuff. But his YouTube channel, he just passed 1 million subscribers, and it's basically him training for marathons and like him just training. But it just so happens that his company is a performance company. Oh, hi. But it's cool to see because his actual Bear Performance company on YouTube has like 20,000 followers, but him just doing his fitness stuff is over 1 million. So just documenting the journey.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are looking for inspiration, right? There's great coaches out there. I've never dove that deep into it. I have a great community online, and I think, and I'm good with that.
Cool. I love your LinkedIn stuff every Saturday. What workout are you doing?
Yeah, I've been doing that for a while. I just like it, and if it grows, it grows. I think there's a good like 60 or 70 people that I think like look forward to it. And it's just accountability stuff. We all need accountability. I need accountability. We all do, right? I mean, but part of the reason I even talk about it and even doing some of this, it's projecting. A lot of people don't realize that those people that are online and they're talking about, this is what I'm doing, or this is what you should be doing, or this is what's helping me, or they're just listening to themselves talk, right? For me, it's the same thing. Or even me doing this, it's actually me saying, hey, I hired a coach and this is what I'm going to be doing.
Yep.
Then it becomes accountability stuff, right? Because you're like, wait, I just told all these folks that I'm doing this and I don't want to be a bitch about it, right?
Yeah.
Like that, right?
Yeah.
So, and some of us are wired that way, where because we did it or we said it, we got to do it. Many people would be, falsifying documents all day long, right? Or, and they're one thing up, online, and they're the other thing behind the scenes and all that. But again, for many, it's projecting. It's like, this is what's happening for me. This is what's going on. This is what I'm doing, and it's therapeutic. It's right. It's they're writing it to hear themselves say it, so that they have to commit to it, and that's great practice, in my opinion.
Yeah, dude, I love last year I ran my first marathon. I turned 40 and I had a goal. I wanted to run one before I did. And I did something similar. I put it out there and I was like, I'm doing this because not only do you kind of commit to it, but people ask you then too, right? It's like the first question that comes up when someone sees you, like, how's it going? And I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, actually, I didn't train today because blah, 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 blah. Like, no, I'm doing it. I said I'm doing it. People encourage you along the way. I think it's a win-win if people are willing to do it.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about the Dads in CPG group at all, or any other topics you want
Yeah,
to?
and I'll talk about Dads and CPG we started. I'll talk about Wellness, which people know that I joined Tim Pereira. He has this amazing, which is actually how I started to level up even in the last couple months. There's a guy named Tim Pereira who people may know on LinkedIn. He does this amazing coaching program for men, and it's for men who are feeling stuck and just need help to get themselves out of their current situation. A lot of it's mental health stuff. And these are men who are he terms them high performers, and I understand that, but these are men who are doing things right. They're not 20. They're in a career. They've created some success, but they're stuck. And I'm one of those guys. I often felt that way, and for a long time, you just can't get out of your own way. And some men will be like, when they hear me say that, they'll be like, that's me. That's how I feel sometimes. Create obstacles for yourself. Could be drinking. You don't have a good relationship with your spouse or your girlfriend, or you commit to exercise and you just aren't doing it. There's so many things, and a lot of time, and what it is it's us. Right. And so you need somebody. It wasn't like I shunned coaches or the word of coaching. I just never really understood it.
Right.
I thought, well, it's your problem. If you can't figure out for yourself, that's your issue. What's not? It's like, and that's why just like right now, I just hired a nutrition and fitness coach, right? Strength training coach. People who know me, they'd be like, you hired? Dude, you are that. Like, let me see what that guy looks like. We all need it. And especially when we're really honest with ourselves. So he has this amazing program. He started giving me some content and I was listening to him and I'm like, I love this program. And it started helping me. I started having discovery through it. And I said, I got to join I got to get involved with this. So we met and I started talking about the program. I'm like, I want you to lead. You're the coach. I don't want to be dude. That's not me. But I can help you build this community because I know other men like me. Yeah. And I want them in this cohort. I want them in the community. So we have a new program starting in November. We're starting to bring on folks now, which I'm going to be talking more on. And so that's one piece. Per Wellness, I'll be putting out more content on that. And then the Dads in CPG is just a group they can find on LinkedIn. It's just a bunch of dads who somehow are related to CPG. They could be involved with a brand or they're service related. And we're going to do some cool stuff over time. I just haven't figured out what we're going to do with the group.
Awesome. Dude, it's so, call it divine intervention, call it manifesting, call it whatever you believe in. About 8 weeks ago, a buddy of mine, we're starting a food company. It's called Switchback Foods, and we're very, very, very small and whatever. We're super early. But we started a podcast. It's called the DHE podcast. It's for dads, husbands, and entrepreneurs. And we've recorded 10 episodes. We launch it tomorrow, but we've been working on this idea, the same thing that you just said. The whole point of the podcast is just to help dads and husbands realize that you're not alone. It is hard, but it doesn't have to be, and surround yourself with people. And then all of a sudden, I'm on LinkedIn and I meet you and I see your Dads in CPG group and I see all this other stuff. And I was like, holy crap, like everything's coming together at once. And it's all around this dads, husbands, helping each other out, area. And I know we're supposed to talk food here, but I love this mindset stuff and this community piece too. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, I'm sure we can intertwined somehow with all these different things that we're working on.
For sure.
It meant, we're a strange bunch, dude. We're so insecure, and we've got all these things that we are dealing with that we never talk about. I've always been very open about my mental health and things I've struggled with my entire adult life. And that really resonated with people. I think it helped some folks come out, because you should see some of the messages, private messages I get, right? And so it's a new day, dude, and we live in a new time. It's like I'm sorry the way I talk sometimes. It's like you're not being a bitch about it. If anything, you're being a man about it. You got to get it out, because there's a whole bunch of other dudes out there who are dealing with the same shit you are.
Right.
And until you realize that and you actually lean into that, you can't help yourself. You can't fix these things that are happening in your life. And I'm on the journey the same way you are, the same way the other homie is, and the same way da is, right? And when you start talking about that, it frees up folks.
Right.
It lifts weights, off the back. And I think so long we continue down that road with like-minded individuals, we're going to be able to touch a lot of people, dude.
I love it. Well, dude, I appreciate your time. I don't want to keep you too long. If people want to find out more about what you're working on, where you're at, how do they connect with you, learn more about your company, where should they go?
They can just find me on LinkedIn is the best place for Mark. Find me on Mark Samuel on LinkedIn. And of course, IWON Organics. They can check out if they see it in store online, would be awesome to support. And then Per Wellness, which is PER Wellness. You could go ahead and apply now. We're taking apps right now to see who's going to come into this new cohort, which is going to be pretty cool.
Awesome. Go check them out, guys. I found Mark on LinkedIn. I started getting active there about 6 months ago or so, and you got great stuff, man. I look forward to seeing your name pop up in my feed every day, and what are you working on, and just a little inspiration. So keep it up, man. It's good for me selfishly.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it, brother.
Cool, dude. Well, enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks again for coming on.
Peace.
See ya.